This is Joel from Wolfpack AZ coming with you with
Fish, as always. What's up?
what's up, everybody? We're coming off the heels of Backlash 2025, which in itself is coming off the heels of WrestleMania 41. 41. And so we are going to coming with you guys with some fresh thoughts. The show just wrapped up a few hours ago. It ended up staying as a five-match card. Overall, what were some of your thoughts, Corey? Now that we're after the show.
I thought it was pretty solid. There was like obviously the highlight of the card was the Fatal Four Way. In my opinion, anyways, I think that was the best match overall. Normally, multi-man matches are usually like elevated in some way, shape, or form, as we saw with the tag team match that happened on SmackDown versus on the Mania card. Just with that many people being involved, there's a lot of great spots, there's a lot of great moments. We also got a debut tonight as well. That was very unexpected, in my opinion. So overall, I thought the card was solid. It wasn't anything elevating or like spectacular, but it was very solid. What about you?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we had no title change. We had every basically status quo remained. I would even elevate this something along the line of just a super card versus a PLE, but you can make that
Yeah.
distinction however you want. I think that the crowd was really hot.
Hmm.
They sang for Orton's theme song. I think that main event had a lot of heat behind it. I think that Fatal Four
Absolutely.
Way had a lot of momentum, especially as the opening match of the night, which we'll get into here shortly. And I
Yep.
think that at certain points, the Becky and Lyra had more heat to it than I thought it would. I thought it was probably the weakest match
Definitely.
going into the card, considering that we did have Pat McAfee versus Gunther. But I think overall, my expectations were minimal. I just kind of knew how the show was going to go about, with the exception of that one finish in one of the matches. But the status quo remained the same. So you didn't really miss
Yeah,
anything
for the
if you
most
didn't
part.
watch anything. So we're gonna go. We're just gonna go into the card real quick. We opened up with the United States title match, which was the Fatal Four Way match with Jacob Fatu defending against LA Knight, Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. And I think throughout the match, I think LA Knight was a pretty big MVP. I think he
Yeah.
was one of the bigger leaders of the night. Um, but I think this was a very wild, eccentric match. I even noted in our group chat that this was a crazy opener.
It
Um,
was.
and I think that's just they give everyone time to shine, especially LA Knight. Jacob Fatu kind of bulked the back half of the end of the match, and we still got the continuation of Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Um, and it looks like we have a potential injury. Reports are still stating that Drew might have missed the table, hit
Missed the
his head on
table,
the
yeah.
concrete, which was a scary bump. So basically, what ended up happening was in the last few minutes, they kind of separated into two single matches. So we had Drew and Damien kind of going off into the
Fighting in
crowd.
the crowd. Yeah.
And since we have no DQ, you go for it. So then we lead into the ending. So I'll kind of let you finish off the ending.
Yeah, so we had LA Knight and Jacob Fatu fighting near the ring. Jacob was set up on the table. LA Knight was gonna do his elbow for the third time in the match, actually. He delivered it twice in succession. That was kind of different.
Sure.
I was like, am I
It's a
watching
spot now.
am I watching a 2K match? Because he did it twice. He did it to him while he stood up. So maybe Jacob missed the cue that he was supposed to stay down. That's what I'm guessing, possibly. But he was gonna go for the elbow drop for the third time. We saw Solo come out from the crowd, pull him off of the table. Ellie and I was like, "What the hell is going on? Why are you here?" Jacob kind of looked at Solo a little bit stunned as well, and then we saw, I believe, Ellie and I went after Jacob, or not after Jacob, after Solo, right?
Solo.
And then that's when we get our debut. We get a fresh Jeff Cobb coming into the mix for the Bloodline. So I know you're really high on Jeff Cobb, and we have been like we've known about him since we've been watching New Japan for quite a while. Uh, what are your thoughts on him debuting now as part of the Bloodline? Did you see him come into the Bloodline mix at all, or What are your
I
thoughts
think this
on him debuting for them?
I I think this was a good fit for them. I don't think Tonga can is really mobile, and I think Tom has been really hurt with the lack of push for himself and
Hmm.
not having Loa to be that tag team force with him. I know he's a
Yeah,
former tag team champ with Fatu and Solo, I believe too. Um, I think this is great. We'll see what that does for Bronson's return because he was also probably scheduled to be somewhere along that line of
yeah,
of a power hitter. But if we have basically like this Jeff Cobb and Bronson and Tama who can still go, your boy. But I really
yeah,
like Jeff Cobb. I have high expectations. I kind of prefer him over um, Bronson Reed in terms
absolutely.
of and even if you would like mix in people like Otis, I would still probably prefer a Jeff
He,
Cobb. He just came off of United Empire, pretty
yeah,
good run there, and a New
he,
Japan. So
he's
I'm
pretty
very
similar
excited.
to Jacob in terms of the athleticness. So
Yeah.
it's or just in terms of his athletic ability and like in ring work, he's great. You know, the matches that we've been able to see him in New Japan as part of United Empire and all everything before that as well. He's just improved, and as Michael Cole, he's one of the
Yeah.
hottest free agents at the moment. So I'm actually super excited to see where this goes, especially because of how Jacob kept on looking back at Solo and Jeff
Hmm.
walking to the back. Like Jacob just separated himself from the two and didn't even walk with them or give them daps up, like he didn't dap them up or anything. He just gave him kind of like a wary stare. So are we seeing another schism in the bloodline to create another bloodline? Time will tell.
We're so far off Bloodline that it's now
Yeah,
like off
yeah.
its own course. We're now at
It,
Bullet Club
it's
2.0.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's kind of like Bullet Club is right now, or has been veering towards anyways, because they just kicked out House of Horror, and then we get the people from the U.S. coming in at the U.S. show that they had right
Yep,
this past
Resurgence.
weekend, yeah, or actually yesterday, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so because we saw Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows
Luke
go back
Gallows.
and be in Bullet Club in the Bullet Club versus Bullet Club match that they had with War Dogs and regular Bullet Club, and yeah. But anyways, getting back to this, I think Jeff Cobb is going to be a great addition to it. The Fatal Four Way match was my favorite of the night. Not even just because
Agreed.
of the spots. I think a lot of the in ring work, and then also the in ring psychology that a lot of these that all four of the guys bring to the table is just great, and they all play off each other really, really well. This was my MVP of the night for matches. Anyways,
Jacob
it
was
came
hot.
out.
Jacob was
Yeah,
hot.
it came out exactly how all of us thought it was going to. So all of us correctly predicted this for our game, our Wolfpack League. But yeah, we'll just move on to the next match. So
Well, real
take us into
quick,
the next one. Or
that
yeah.
ending was Jeff Cobb ran in,
Oh
attacked
yeah,
LA
yeah, yeah.
Knight, threw him in. We got a moonsault. Actually, we had a hip attack into a moonsault, and that whole
Yep.
time, Jacob was very
He was just
wary
staring
about
at
the
Jeff Cobb and Solo.
yeah, wondering why this is happening. But he did pick up the scraps. He picked up the win.
He did.
Hot opener. I definitely agree that I'm that high expectations about Jeff Cobb, but
Yep.
unsure about what it does with the bloodline overall. So. From there, we went into our women's intercontinental championship match, which was Lyra Valkyria defending against Becky Lynch. This was in on paper my like weakest match,
Yeah, same.
just because going in. But I actually
It
think
was
that
actually really
the
solid.
no, yeah, and they had built in a
Yeah.
lot of heat, which made me upset with the finish because I actually anticipated the finish for the main event, something similar.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah.
was just to kind of have like a very heated ending
Yeah.
in a very popular city based off who the people were involved for the main event. But they
Yeah.
did it here. Basically, we had I believe Lyra kicked out of two manhandle slams,
Yeah.
and Becky kicked
Becky
out of a
kicked out of
Nightwing.
one Nightwing, yeah.
So So they're trying to put over her. They're trying to put Lyra over strong. Obviously, Becky is someone that she, has worked with, is big influence, and I think is someone that it would do the most that she can to build her up. So I think coming in weak, they had a very strong performance, and I actually really like this match, and I think it overcame the lack of interest for me,
Yeah, I I think
except for the finish.
Lyra, yeah. I think for me, Lyra has she's always been a solid in ring worker. I just I was never really high on Lyra, mainly because she was going up against my girl Dakota a lot of the time. So, what I couldn't really root for her too much.
Right,
I did change my decision right before this match started, actually, as I posted in the group. And the reason for that is because it wasn't even because I thought there was going to be like some roll up win or something to keep Lyra with the title. I thought Bailey was going to come back and distract Becky. That's where I was going with it, more
Hmm.
so than just like a roll up win.
I
Um,
was I was more under the impression that this would be uh, Becky's to win, and then Lyra comes back at SummerSlam
yeah.
since it's
Well,
two
and then
nights.
like she would feud with like Bailey for a while, and then like be
Yeah,
inserted into that somehow, essentially. Yeah, I mean, I could see that too. I just thought Bailey was going to come back and cause a distraction for Lyra to hit like a Nightwing to win or something.
sure.
I didn't think that it was going to be a roll up win, so that's why I changed it. So for tonight, I was the only one that got it right for predicting the winner in this match, but yeah, it was really, like I said in the group chat, it was like really either big brain or it was just really bad on my part, and it ended up working out for the prediction, anyways.
I think after the second Manhandle Slam, I was like, I think Corey cooked this. I think Corey
Yeah,
cooked this right. I think
yeah,
that we're gonna get probably a clean win and just have Lyra go over.
yeah.
Or something screwy. I think that I was like expecting Lynn Becky to hit the exposed turnbuckle again,
Hmm.
something along those lines. That leads into a Nightwing. So there's kind of this plausibility to protect
Yep.
Becky, but I think Becky would probably at one point just she'll allow herself to be defeated. So,
Yeah,
but overall, again for myself, better than expected.
it was. Yeah.
Um, so we're going to go into our third match, which is also the Intercontinental title match,
Yeah.
the men's version. Dominic Mysterio defends against Penta, and I don't know. I wouldn't say this was the weakest match of the night. It was the
I don't
shortest
think so
match of the
either.
night. It was the shortest match of the night at 9 minutes.
Yeah,
But I think there's some impressive spots in the match. There was Dom hitting a suicide dive into a DDT that looked really
that was
good.
great. Oh man,
Um, I
that was
wasn't
really
sure if
nice.
Penta was hurt, but there was a lot of moments where Penta was looking stiff.
A little slow.
Um, yeah, and I wasn't
Yeah,
sure if something had happened,
or hesitant,
if
anyways, something like that.
yeah, or hesitant, but he hit
Yeah.
the over the top rope dive over the ref as well onto
Yep.
Judgment
That
Day.
was that was a nice spot. Yeah. What the ref
Yeah,
was like sticking out in between the second rope, trying to get Judgment Day to the back, and then he did the spot over him. That was really nice. I I thought it was actually one of Dominic's better matches, even though it was
sure,
short, to be honest. I thought
sure. Probably helps him.
he looked really in control. He looked actually really polished. Even his 619 attempt that Penta ducked, like it didn't look as slow as it normally does. So I think he's really getting, like Michael Cole said, actually, he's really coming into his own. He's maturing in the ring a lot. And it's really going to be beneficial for him moving forward. I thought this was a really, really solid Dom match. Penta always delivers. Like, there's no question. If you have Penta in a match, he's going to be really solid no matter what in most of the matches that I've seen, and the majority of them, anyways. But Dom, on the other hand, early Dom, he looked really shaky, obviously, as
Sure,
he was still
sure.
learning the psychology, learning the work, everything like that. But I think he's really come into his own, and he's up there on for in ring workers, anyways. I don't think, like you said, this was the weakest match of the night. For me, it was another match. Actually, I think it's the next match that we're going to talk about is the weakest match of the night, which was really surprising given who was in it. But
Sure.
we had we had Judgment Day interfering in this,
Yep,
which we all saw coming.
right.
We did not actually see Dom even attempt the Three Amigos, so maybe it goes back to
He did. He
did he
did.
attempt it? I didn't, so I
He
must have missed that
he
part then.
he came in. They did a spot off the turnbuckle where he basically had came down. They both came down, and then that set him up into a suplex. He did a Hibble Swip uh, to pick him up, and then it was he only did one because Penta immediately countered into like a back suplex. And then they went from there. But the beginning sequence of it was mentioned by commentators and by just like
Oh, okay.
the pacing of the move
So
itself.
I must have missed it then. If it was that
He only
quick.
hit one,
Yeah.
so it was really quick.
Okay.
And
That makes
it was
sense.
I think commentators were more like, "Oh, we've seen this before." I don't think they
Yeah.
really they were able to call it out, but I think they've mentioned it by in passing.
hmm
So,
Okay,
but he did
gotcha.
try to go for it. We did get the ending here where through the distraction, we had a couple of things here. Real quick, we had a
Yep.
moment where JD had Penta
Penta.
and Finn could have clocked him, but he wanted to grab a chair. And in that extra time, the ref was able to turn around and catch them and attempt to
Throw all
escort
three
them
of them
back.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all them back. We had a kerfuffle, and then overall we had the ending. Not overall, but ultimately it led to the ending where Finn attempted to again distract the ref, and in that distraction we had El Grande Americano appear from underneath
Best
the ring,
lucha in the US.
and he hit with this loaded mask
Yep.
to Penta, which knocked him from. He
Who
was
was
on the
on the top rope?
turnbuckle,
Yeah.
brought him down, and Dom hit his frog splash. 1, 2, 3, retained the
For the win.
title.
Yep.
And you had mentioned it, and
I
you could
did.
see it in the replays where we had all the death stares from Finn,
Yeah.
who was very hesitant to be happy for Dom.
Finn just keeps on like teasing this turn and like the rift between him and Dom. So it's like a ticking time bomb. It's gonna happen at some point. I would be really surprised if it didn't, but I've heard a lot of cool things on what people think are gonna happen with Judgment Day and Finn splitting from them. And it's kind of another bloodline situation, which is kind of lackluster.
Squeaky.
They keep on doing it with every faction, every major faction, anyways. But yeah, we had the death stares from Finn, and I mentioned that right away because he did not look happy for him. He just like stared holes into the back of Dom's head, and then all of a sudden, when Dom turned around and like dapped him up, like gave him a fist, he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, great job." So he's playing that role really well. We'll just see what takes him to that point of just turning on him finally. But
Well,
yeah,
real quick, I have a question.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we got the win here. Do we think that we'll see El Grande Americano, especially with the buyout with AAA, the show coming up with When Worlds Collide? Do we think that Gable will be on the show? Sorry, El Grande Americano will be on the show.
For Worlds Collide? I would
Yeah,
imagine so.
especially
I
because
would think that they'd want to
he's been
showcase
running,
him.
especially because he's been running through their
Luchas.
luchadors.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And would it be would it be fitting if like he doesn't need to be in mass. He can lose in a showcase match. Would it be fitting if like an El Vikingo?
I was gonna
it-
say that too. Yeah, he would be the
yeah,
perfect person to face him. Either that or I think is it La Park
they have
or
a
is it
new
La
La Parka.
Parca?
Yeah, they have a new La Parka.
So it is La Parca. Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a new iteration.
either La Parca or El Vikingo. Yeah, one of those two, I think.
I think so too. I think that I hope that it is like AAA versus like
Yeah.
NXT
hmm
with a little
I
bit
think
of
I think
infusion.
I think Vikingo against El Grande would be better because then it gets more eyes onto Vikingo um,
Sure.
as like a really star talent, kind of like what AEW was trying to do when he
Especially if he
faced
wins.
Kenny Omega.
Hmm.
Same kind of thinking. Anyways, I would think that that would be the better matchup to have on that card. Anyways, because it bring a lot of eyes. So
No,
yeah, but
that's what I was thinking, especially because he has claim over taking out Rey Mysterio at the very least.
he
To
does.
beat
Yep.
Phoenix and
Yep.
then cost Penta the match. And I'm sure if you run through a couple more or even them again, it'll probably build to some resentment. Maybe even having um, kind of a throwback to Eddie
Hmm.
and he had the very famous World Collide, the 1994 World Collide, the tag team match, the 2 out of 3 tag team match. Maybe they do like a 3-on-3. Maybe they find something where it's like him and Alpha Academy versus Ray, Penta, and Phoenix.
Yeah,
Something along those lines. Maybe Americano finds 2 other luchadors that will back him up, and those
yeah.
could be AAA
It would
talent.
it would just be like heels from AAA to be able to back him up against the faces.
And to have names that are associated with their
Yeah,
company that they would want
exactly.
to see. So I
Yeah,
I
no,
think there's a
I
lot of
agree
ways
with
they can
that.
go, but I definitely
Yeah,
think he should be on the show.
he should. Yeah. But getting back to Backlash, so
Sure.
the next match that we had was, like I was saying, probably my weakest, my least favorite
Mine
match of the
too.
night. We have Gunther against Pat McAfee. Um, Everyone that I talked to, like our group, all thought that Gunther was going to win. I had seen inklings around, the internet and just different posts and stuff like that that could see Pat winning in some way, shape, or form. And there was one spot, and I mentioned it, where Cole was holding his feet down, where he could have
Uh
ended the match right there. That was the spot that I was talking about. And I was like, wait, is this actually going to happen? Is he going to win that way? I mean, it would make sense because they would help each other to win
sure.
without getting like a DQ win or something like that, or like an underhand win where McAfee like low blows Gunther and does the heel type thing. It would be more so Michael trying to help out his friend like he was trying to do. Um, I thought it was fine. It wasn't spectacular. McAfee, he didn't even hit his coast to coast, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah. He didn't hit his
No.
coast to coast. He didn't even get the chance to try to put him through the table with like a leg drop or an elbow drop or something like that. No, no high risk spots for McAfee. Maybe he's not feeling the best at the moment or
Maybe it
something.
was
Maybe
just
he's
too
like,
short of time.
maybe. But this was definitely my least favorite match of the night. Just wasn't spectacular. Nothing groundbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I think it was a very slow-paced match. I think the last few minutes were decent with the Michael Cole involvement,
Hmm.
but you never got that inkling. You probably felt it more with that spot than I did. I
Yeah.
think I was just
Yeah.
waiting for the choke out, which leading up to the show, I thought was more of a plausible finish, which it should have
Yeah.
been. He had been made fun of for getting choked out, so
And it
it's
did
the like,
happen
yeah,
eventually.
which he did, yeah.
Yeah.
And they had teased it too. Pat got the sleeper on him as well, but
Yeah.
it very like 80% Gunther. That's even
Yeah.
generous, I would say 20% to McAfee, but um,
It was fine.
I don't. Yeah, ended up being fine, is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to with this. So from there, we go on to our main event, which they had the whole last hour dedicated for them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I think from beginning to segment to the end was like 54 minutes.
Yeah. It was
And
pretty long.
the match itself was 28 minutes as it's registered here. I
Yeah.
had said 31 as a joke, so we weren't that far off. But basically, we have hometown hero Randall Keith Orton, 14-time world champion. No Bob Orton because fuck him. A guy spilled hepatitis C on people, but that's neither here nor there. Um, but he had a big crowd reaction. Obviously, hometown boy
Yeah.
against the one and only 17-time world heavyweight champion, the GOAT, John Cena. And I should have predicted the ending, but before we get to that point, I think this was a very heated match, and which I was very grateful that there was so much heat for it because the match itself was just their basic match,
It was. Yeah.
just extended,
Just elongated.
just elongated,
Yeah.
more time to feed up the crowd, more
Yep.
time to kill time,
More.
more to kill time
Yeah.
in just general like spots that they would do. Randy Orton's like stops are take longer to do because he's taking in each moment, like things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, they were both looking like super, super Randy and super John because They both hit so many of their finishers.
That's all it
They hit,
was.
yeah, they hit what? I think Randy hit like five RKO's or something like that on Cena.
On Cena
Cena hit,
alone.
yeah, and Cena hit four AAs or something like that as well.
And then Orton hit two
Two,
AAs.
yeah, and then Randy hit two AAs through two tables on Cena. So Super Cena and Super Orton in competition tonight. So
Almost like parody.
yeah,
Almost a
it's
parody. Like
100%. That's what it felt like.
this is what you expect from these two is finisher, L1, 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 L1,
Yeah,
all the way through. And that's what they
it
did. And we had ref bumps.
yeah
We just had shenanigans. And it would seem at times it would be like inadvertent ref bumps and purposeful ref bumps.
yeah
So basically, our ending sequence here was we had a second ref come in. We
yep
had um, we had a second ref come in.
yep.
There was a close near fall. That ref got knocked out. So then general manager, I almost said Magnus, Nick Aldis comes in with the road agents and a couple of cronies
Everyone,
and
yeah,
everyone.
Hurricane, Jamie
Yeah,
Noble,
Kenny Dykstra,
yeah, all
all
of
those
them came
boys.
in.
And they all ate RKO's, starting with Nick Aldis. So we're gonna see
Yep,
that Orton Aldis
eventually,
match, probably at SummerSlam, or maybe Money in the Bank. But
yeah, maybe
we're
Money in
gonna
the
see
Bank
it.
as well.
We're gonna see it.
Yeah,
Um, they all got RKO'd, and he was setting up, I believe, a
a
punt
punt.
again.
It was a punt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which he
the
had been
second
setting
time,
up
the
a
second
second
attempt.
time.
Yeah,
And who should come out? And I didn't even think about it
I didn't
because
either.
he had been doing, but he had been doing promos in the background in backstage segments with Jimmy. Our
Yeah, I
Truth
remember
comes
those.
out to save his childhood hero. And so I don't remember how our Truth got out of the ring, what the sequence there was. Oh, he ate an RKO.
It was an RKO.
And and then in that we got a low blow and I believe another attitude adjustment.
No,
That's
it was the title, wasn't it? He hit him with the title.
okay.
Yeah,
And then that's it. He pinned him. Crowd was pretty deflated. Not too sure how many people expected a title change. I don't know where you would have gone with that.
I definitely
I
didn't expect the title change, but
nobody.
I said this earlier. I did not like the ending. Like, I get it. What they're playing off the whole R Truth, like John Cena's my childhood hero. Like, don't
But I
hurt
think,
him.
yeah, it's it is
I
interesting.
I didn't like it. I rarely say in most things. I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to like finishes and like not advocating for those types of finishes or really liking them or either or even disliking them sometimes. I guess
Right.
more just accepting of them. But in this situation, I just did not like the finish. Like our truth coming out there kind of ruined it for me. Um and our truth ended up paying for it at the press conference. So he came out and talked to Cena. He interrupted Cena before Cena could even answer his first question because Cena came out and interrupted Triple H and said, hey, could I make a quick statement real quick? Like, could I make a statement? And he's like, I'm going to field all questions because I shouldn't have been doing this to you guys. I shouldn't have been, not answering you guys and just being the heel,
Blowing you
basically, is
off.
what he was trying to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, like not blowing you guys off. I'm going to field every single question that you guys have to ask. Before we even get to the end of the question or scene to answer, Truth comes out and interrupts him, and he's like, "Hey, like apologizing, like this is why I did it." And Cena gets up and he's like, "Ron, if you don't get out of here, there's gonna be consequences." And then, or if you say one more thing, there's gonna be repercussions. That's what he says. And our truth just he tries to talk again and says like two more words. Cena picks him up and AAs him through the press conference table. So I mean, I guess that was fine, but I did not like the ending. The ending ruined the match for me, in my opinion. Like for me, it ruined it. It took away so much from Randy and the whole like buildup of this over the last however long they've been wrestling each other. Well, how long have they been? Like 20 years or something like that? Almost 20 years.
Oh
It's like
one,
18 years or
they
yeah,
gave a thing, so it would be 24 years.
24 years. Okay,
They
yeah. So
wrestled at the it was a memorial show. I believe it
yeah.
was the Brian Pillman Memorial
So
Show yeah.
it's been over 20 years that they've been wrestling. So like for this match to be the culmination with it ending because R-Truth comes in and saves his childhood hero. As funny as that has been in the past, it just completely killed the match for me. It
Yeah.
completely killed the impact of like I don't think anyone realizes this was supposed to be their last match ever between Orton and Cena. And I don't know, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I did not like it. I did not enjoy the ending whatsoever. I would have taken any other finish. Any other finish. I would have even accepted Travis Scott coming out again and interrupting the match like he did with Cody and Cena. That would have been fine. But R-Truth coming out and saving him from the punt just killed it for me. I don't know. That was my tirade.
that's fair. I think that just so we're not struggling on it too long.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that that might be the gimmick is that Cena might be like having bad finishes
Oh,
because
maybe. Well,
he's just
he
worried.
did say that he
He's
wants
just
to kill
yeah.
wrestling. He
He's more
wants to
worried
ruin
about keeping
wrestling.
his
Yeah,
he's more worried about keeping the belt, and so that
yeah,
might just be through
yeah.
very nefarious ways.
Hmm.
But I do hate that it does come across like that
Yeah,
for a match against Orton, especially in St. Louis. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, sour finish. Interesting concept with R-Truth. I'm not sure if they're going to keep it to where he's going to keep blindly supporting him and even like kind of saving face for what happened, kind of like saying, "Hey, I stepped out of line. I deserved it," and
yeah.
still kind of following Cena. So there's a twinge there. I don't know where that even goes. I don't even like. I don't want R-Truth in a world title match.
No,
But I don't. I'm not. It's one of those things where it's like I'm intrigued, but I'm only intrigued as much as much as like they're willing to give me type
yeah,
of deal.
yeah,
But overall, I think the show was good in parts. I think it was, like I said at the very beginning, like not really a PLE. Like if I match this to PLEs from the past or pay-per-views from the past, just a Backlash alone,
yeah,
there's much better Backlashes.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I would think of it even as much as like a Saturday night main event.
no, even
Yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if it's just the 5 match card layout. I don't know if it's the lack of interest because it was so close to Mania. I don't
Hmm.
know if there wasn't enough fresh
Like
faces
or
to
build up
keep
for a
things.
lot of the
Yeah,
matches
we
as
didn't have
well.
Braun Breaker. We didn't have Rusev. We didn't have Aleister Black. We didn't have any of these new
A
guys that
lot of
probably.
people left off the card.
Yeah, a lot of people opted over the card, and not even like the tag team, which we had talked about. You had talked
Yeah,
about earlier. Just people in general that weren't on the card. And Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns.
yep,
People that aren't going to be on cards all the time because now we're at 5 people. Charlotte, Tiffany. The name goes on and on. List goes on and on.
yeah.
And so, Io, Julia, like it's crazy.
It
And
is.
so I don't know if it's hurting it. I don't know if it's inhibiting it. Um, but I don't think it was up to the par of those. I think it was probably a more lackluster show with an exciting opening and a very,
Just fell flat
very,
at the end with
yeah,
how hyped the start was. Like that fatal four way.
it
Like I
peaked
said,
early. Then
it
it
was
peaked
great.
early.
Yeah, it absolutely did. Like even the Penta Dominic match was more hyped than the last two
Yeah.
matches, in my opinion.
They're waiting
So
for that Dom face turn. So for sure.
yeah, yeah. But I think overall, like you said, it was fine. It was a solid card. There wasn't anything like majorly wrong with it. The ending just left a bad taste in my mouth just because I don't know. I felt like they were kind of I don't know. They were playing up on the R-Truth thing too much, which kind of made an ass out of Randy Orton versus John Cena overall, in my opinion. But uh I think it'll be interesting going into Money in the Bank. So we have what a month before that, a little bit less than 4 weeks. I think
We're
three
gonna have
weeks or
one.
something like that, right?
We'll have
Well, we have Worlds Collide, and
and
we have
Road
Worlds
Block
Collide,
as well.
and oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have all of that coming up. We'll make sure to keep in
Sorry,
contact and
not
doing posts and
Roadblock.
stuff like that. So
We have NXT events in between now and then, I believe is
yep,
what's going on.
yeah,
Roadblock is a special episode. It's not a PLE. But
yeah,
basically, we'll keep in touch. We're
yep,
probably going to be looking into some other companies too. Myself and Corey are actually going to be attending AEW at the end of the month here in
yep.
Phoenix for Double or Nothing. So
That'll be
we might
great.
have some additional content there in regards to before and after, and then
Yeah.
seeing
So just
what's
keep an
going
eye out
on.
on
But
socials. But
yeah,
like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. This is Core
too
Fish out.
s-
Too sweet.
Joel out, too sweet.